everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. Today's topic is Angel Setorya, that connects us to the power of miracles and our ability to rise above our own limitations. And if you're excited like me, please leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with family and friends. Let's get started. Setorya is also the angel governs the lunar month of Sagittarius called Kislev. In order for us to use Setorya's strength, we first need to understand the reason for our limitations. We usually run to solutions or to creative ideas how to remove the pain, or simply pray for a miracle for it to disappear. But what if limitations are there to protect us? Kabbalist Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto said a very fundamental view of life. He says, everything that happens has not a reason, but literally thousands upon thousands of reasons. Usually when we clearly see an area in our life that just must change, you understand what it takes from you to create that difference, but you're in between comforting your feeling of limitation to, yes, I know what I need to do, but it's so hard and I just don't know, I'm going to try, but you're still holding on to all of those things that you're uncomfortable about. But that idea of actually saying no to that habit and being uncomfortable in that, which is clearly the right thing to do, it's going to help you grow, it's going to help you change and really make you happy. Happen to all of us. But in order to break through that, we want to be able to see where are we at between our desires for change and growth, which requires discomfort, and our fear of the unknown we're holding on to. One of the most dangerous things in life is our comfort zone, because it's not your life you're living. And then it passes you by and later you're surprised thinking, what happened here? It's not what I thought it was going to be. Our first comfort zone is dependency on things and routines. Rigid, inflexible, being very upset when things don't go as planned. That's the first danger. The second is you will lose skills. There's no such thing as stasis. You're either growing or devolving. If you aren't using those abilities you have, that strength, that desire in challenging ways, and yes, you'll be uncomfortable, but if you're not using that, they actually become dormant and eventually you don't even have access to them, which called atrophy. Unfortunately, often as people look at their parents, it's so clear that at a certain point, they stop pushing. And unfortunately, both the mind, body, and spirit then start forgetting, start to get dim. So dim eventually, they start to become invisible. And then you just don't have access to them anymore. The other is, you'll find yourself years down the road in a place you don't like, a job you hate, and a relationship that isn't fulfilling. If you're not pushing to be uncomfortable in all areas that are important to you, you will lose them. Now, losing them doesn't mean you won't have a relationship, you won't have a job. No, you'll just be very unhappy with it in all of it. An experiment was done with a mouse that was put at the top of a jar that was filled with grain. It was happy to have access to so much food around it. After which it decided not to search for food again. After all, with a load of food all around it, could easily live a happy life. However, as days went by, the mouse basically finished the grains until it reached the bottom of the jar, and the mouse could no longer make its way out. It was stuck. The mouse was solely dependent on that grain for survival, and when the jar eventually empties out, the mouse will starve. So the mouse got too comfortable and was short-sighted, resulting in its eventual entrapment and death. That is life. Living within the comfort zone, we are literally eating away at everything that makes us unique, makes us special, powerful, and important. And at a certain point becomes your prison. And then there are no more options, like this mouse. What was he going to do? Knowing that ahead of time, wherever any of us is at in our lives, think about that mouse sitting on the jar That is where each one of us is right now. In those areas we feel limited. We're sitting on whatever comfort there is unless we are pushing and pushing consistently in the areas that are important for us against our comfort. We're going to wind out like that mouse. It might take a year, it might take 50 years, but there is only one way, one end to living within the comfort zone, and that's the mouse in the jar. Author Daniel H. Pink, who wrote Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us, he said, we need a place of productive discomfort. If you're too comfortable, you're not productive. And if you're too uncomfortable, you're not productive. Like Goldilocks, we can't be too hot or too cold. There's a famous experiment conducted by psychologists Robert M. Yerkes and John D. Dodson way back in the 1908. They found that stimulation improved performance up to a certain level, what is now known as the optimal anxiety. When that level is passed, we're under too much stress and performance deteriorates. There is a balance between comfort and lack of comfort. With actually a lot of people who study spirituality, often they have guilt for not doing the right thing or how they're supposed to be at this point in their life. There's also the other side of it where they push themselves, and sometimes we do it to ourselves, beyond the right state. So when we're talking about going beyond our limitations, going out of your comfort zone, it doesn't mean always doing the uncomfortable, because there'll be burnout then. There is a point at which we lose optimal anxiety and our abilities deteriorate, because you can't deny your desires and your needs and your comfort. Also, there's this idea that the discomfort zone becomes the learning zone, which becomes the growth zone. The objective is to reach the optimal level so that our skills increase and we become comfortable with that new level of anxiety. Then we're in an expanded comfort zone, and ideally we'll get more used to those feelings of productive discomfort and won't be scared to try new things in the future. And if you persevere, you will eventually enter the learning zone, the place where you gain new skills and deal with challenges resourcefully. After the period of learning, a new comfort zone is formed, wherein one's abilities expand to reach even greater heights of performances, and that is known as the growth zone. That's the evolution of growth. That's actually breaking down how transformation in one occurs. And as you see, it's not only intellectually available. This is why we have a specific angel to help us in this important process. And conversely, if it's too uncomfortable, we push ourselves in the wrong way, burnout, weakness, and ineffective. He says, if you persevere, you will eventually enter the learning zone, the place where you gain new skills and deal with challenges resourcefully. After a period of learning, a new comfort zone is formed wherein one's ability expands to reach even greater levels of performance, and that is known as the growth zone. A very important book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. He quotes there a Ziron psychology research in the 1960s. Notice something fascinating about artists. They could become completely present and engrossed in their work. In these instances, their action and awareness would merge. Random thoughts, bodily sensations like pain or hunger, and even their sense of ego and self would all fade. It was a sort of prolonged Zen in the art of art. He's talking here about that state where everything is working. Your body, your mind, you are able to accomplish. So he began study that state, which he eventually names flow state. He interviewed thousands of high-level performers, from chess players, rock climbers, and painters to surgeons and Formula One drivers. Lapsing into flow requires two conditions, he said. The task must stretch a person's limit, and it must have a clear goal. The flow state, he found, is a key driver of happiness and growth. It's not just about living in the flow state, which is great if you want to accomplish, but it also is very much correlated in research to living in a state of happiness and fulfillment. It is the opposite of apathy. He wrote that flow has the potential to make life more rich, intense, and meaningful. It is good because it increases the strength and complexity of the self. We all want to have a rich life, but unless you are pushing, and again, that's why we have a special help from this beautiful Angel Setorya, as it says, the task must stretch a person's limit. How often are you involved in a task that forces you to stretch your limits? Remembering that is a key driver of happiness and growth, and it has the potential to make life more rich, intense, and meaningful. Life deteriorates, unfortunately, because we're not consistently pushing ourselves in this way. You want to have a rich life filled with miracles. You want to have an intense life, bypassing any limitation that slows you down from reaching your goals. You want to have a full life. Stretch yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. And he says, and it increases the strength and complexity of the self. Kabbalistically, there is no way to fulfillment. There is no way to happiness unless you're living an intense life. And just to make it very clear, I don't mean a stressful life. I mean a full life, a life that is exciting. And the only way you can live an intense life is if you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone consistently. And definitely, Angel Setorya is available to assist with that. Get the strength, the clarity, and so forth. And an intense life doesn't mean to start your day with intense work. You can start your day with prayers, meditations, walking outside in nature, but also look to read something that inspires you. Try not to begin your day unless you come across something new, something that inspires you and you for today. That's what it means, intense life. That's a rich life. It's important, of course, to have vacations. It's important to have breaks. But as a path in life, you want a rich life, push yourself with a purpose. The task must stretch our limits. We all carry limitations, but you need to know that our lives can be better and lasting. But the only way to guarantee a life that is both filled today and lasting for tomorrow, in its fulfillment, joy, and miracles, is if you're pushing against your comfort zone consistently. The other thing is that control or illusion of it actually equals comfort. Professor Brené Brown, author of The Gift of Imperfection, her definition of the comfort zone is related to not just comfort, but a sense of control. She said, where our uncertainty, scarcity, and vulnerability are minimized, where we believe we have access to enough love, food, talent, time, admiration, where we feel we have some control. The trouble is when we get into times of social, political, and financial instability, our comfort zone gets smaller. The more afraid we are, the more impenetrable of comfort zone buffers become. Try to identify your comfort zone, everything in your life that is convenient, from your food, to your clothes, to your job, to your friends. If it's convenient, it doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, of course, but take a look at it and see if there is an area that you're prioritizing convenience over substance. For example, convenient food is not necessarily healthy, which affects your mood, affects your energy, affects your weight, affects your health. So how convenient is it really? We want to challenge ourselves in the very practical ways that we live. What is that really stopping us from doing? Michael Easton in The Comfort Crisis speaks to the idea that our body, even our physical body, is healthiest in a state of deprivation. Because our ancestors lived in a world that was often very cold, in a world where often they did not have meals, food, that the physical body actually reacts best to those states of deprivation, as today is known as healthy fasting. In Dr. Edgar's book, he talks about the fact that there are very few things that increase longevity than limiting how much we eat and how hungry we are. Even if you look at the natural world, you look at our bodies, not being comfortable is often the way to get longevity, to get health. There's no need to be in a constant state of discomfort, but to understand that injecting the states of discomfort in all areas of our lives consistently is what gives it life. The ancient word for spirituality is ruchaniyut, which comes from the word spirit or wind. Spirituality is about movement. if you're not moving and moving, doesn't necessarily mean you move from one place to the other or keep on changing jobs, but it means you're in a state of movement, a state of going. That even in our change or even in our spiritual understandings, if we stay within that which we know, we're not spiritual, we're not growing. And there's a teaching that says that often you want to ask, either you're asking yourself the question or you're looking at other people, what makes somebody more spiritual or less spiritual? Let's say somebody was spiritual for 20 years. They have been meditating, they have been sharing, whatever it is that fits into that category. The Kabbalists teach that the true differentiator between somebody who is spiritual and is not is only one thing: movement. Which means somebody who has been very negative for 20 years, but today decided they are going to move, on one hand. On the other hand, somebody has been very spiritual for 20 years, has been decided to stop moving. The person who's decided to move, even though their history is negative, is unspiritual, they are spiritual as opposed to the person who has lived an amazing life for 20 years, very spiritual, but have made a decision or is in a state of stasis, of non-movement. They are not spiritual. And when you understand that movement is the singular indicator of whether you're a spiritual person or not how much amazing things you've accomplished or even how many negative things you've done. Those are indicators of your history. But your current state, the indicator is movement. And that's why the basic ancient word used for spirituality is spirit, ruchaniyut, or wind, because that is the single differentiator. And therefore, we have to ask ourselves this important question: am I moving today? Because you can't look back and say, oh, I have been a great person for 20 years, for 50 years. That doesn't make you a spiritual person. That doesn't make you a person who is in the right state. The right state is a state of movement. There is a quote in Aramaic, "Lefum tzara agra," which means any benefit that you will receive from any action that you do is exactly equal to the difficulty that it had for you. So, for example, if sharing to somebody is easy, within their comfort zone, it's a nice action, of course, but it's not really an action that brings growth. Therefore, the Kabbalists teach about transformational sharing. There's a very big difference between somebody who shares or gives and somebody who is pushing themselves out of their comfort zone to share and give. Only that second group, what's called transformational giving, actually brings you growth and change. So it's not how much have I done, how much have I accomplished, but what did I do today that was a movement? What did I do that was difficult for me? Because whatever light, benefit, blessings, growth that I desire to have is exactly equal the level of difficulty, to the degree of difficulty, not to the degree of action. There's a Kabbalistic concept called Mesirut Nefesh, which means giving up of one's self. And Kabbalist Rav Brandwein explains the logic and the spiritual system of miracles. There is a nature, which is what we know and what exists, and then there's the realm of miracles, which is going beyond the laws that govern our world. How do we access that? And Rav Brandwein told our teacher, Kabbalist Rav Berg, such a fundamental teaching that when a person changes or goes against his nature and gives up of himself, he forces nature to give itself, no matter what the rules are. Very often in life, we are in need of miracles. On a most basic level, a miracle is a change of nature. A person is in a difficult financial health situation. A miracle goes against the way of the world, as it's called. The only way to enter, to access the realm of miracles is based on a foundational teaching that is, as we behave, so is the universe. And the Creator behaves with us. The universe or the Creator is a mirror to our actions. So that is the first understanding. Then, if you want the nature of the world to change, you want this, God forbid, disease unnaturally to go away, you want this challenge to unnaturally go away, the only way really to access that realm of the miraculous is if you go against your nature. And the deeper you go against your nature, the more consequently nature you can break. And it's the exact balance. You need a big miracle, you need a big going out of your nature, out of your comfort zone. Or as the ancient word calls mesirut nefesh, giving up of yourself, giving up of your nature, of your desires, what we call your desire to receive for oneself alone. And when you say it's a science, it's not. It's not, oh, I need a miracle, I'll pray for a miracle. No. There's a way. It works. And the system is such, as you behave, so the universe behaves with you. You want something that is beyond natural, you have to behave beyond natural. You want something that is greatly beyond nature, you have to behave greatly against your own nature. That's why going against our nature is not just a way to fulfill the purpose, to manifest your potential, to have fulfillment in your life, to live an intense life and a full life. It's also the only way to create miracles in your life, great and small. It is such a fundamental teaching that for sure Angel Setorya can really help us understand and manifest. Usually people that need miracles go to the sages, wise men, to get blessings. It's all within us. It's very simple. And this is how you access it. You want nature to change? Change your nature. To the degree that you change your nature a lot, nature will change for you a lot. There's no other way around it. This is really the path to joy. This is the path to fulfillment. This is the path to accomplish what our soul came to this world to accomplish, making sure that we are consistently asking the question, what am I doing today? What am I doing in my life that makes me leave my comfort zone? The only path to fulfillment, only path to accomplishing what we came into this world to accomplish. If you're ready to go through your soul root canal and you're looking for answers in your core of your tikkun, correction, karma, don't miss out on my one-to-one coaching with angels. Check out all the information in the link below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you find it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe, and share. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.